You're listening to The Flex Project with Jordan Tatishi.
Just take care of yourself. And I operated for much of my life thinking I was a robot, that I could do it all, overload. And I was ignoring myself.
The Flex Project with Jordan Tatishi.
All right, you guys, on today's show, we have Equinox Group Fitness Instructor, health and wellness freelance writer, active service member of the New York City Board of National Eating Disorders Anonymous, and participant in the Habitat of Humanity for Humanity Global Village, and all-around badass, Amanda Katz. Thank you so much for being on today's show, Amanda.
You better stop right now. That was a whole lot of goodness from you. I am so privileged and honored to even have been asked by you to be on your podcast. I know it is something that you have been working on for a while, brewing in your head, and the fact that you brought it to really fruition so quickly and seamlessly, I'm very impressed by you, sir.
Thank you so much. It definitely has been a vision for me and something that I have personally wanted to do. It's really about just taking the time to just put things into practice and stop procrastinating. But like your intro was a pretty awesome intro. I would say that it could definitely go along with like some dating profiles, you know, if you're into that.
You know, I have dabbled in the apps before, but I'm not going to lie to you. It's not for me. It's just not going to be for me.
I don't blame you. I had to like take a break from all of it because it's too much. You got to focus on what's important and what's on priorities. So with all of that, I know that you teach at Equinox. What do you teach?
So I teach about 20 to 25 classes a week in cycling, be it rhythm rides or competitive-based rides, as well as high-intensity interval training classes. We have something called Metcon. I also teach athletic conditioning, and I teach TRX Max, which is a circuit challenge incorporating TRX straps.
Wow. I definitely know from seeing those group classes like firsthand and like being and participating in them that they're no joke. So kudos to you to be able to rock out all those classes and do so well at them. I know you recently switched over from like business. I know you have a background in business and marketing. Where did you go?
Yeah, so that's I actually got my business degree from the University of Buffalo for undergrad. I got my master's at Baruch here in New York City. Basically, my professional life started in government relations. I did a lot of constituent work for the New York State Assembly. And then I moved into a more quote unquote business role in communications for a nonprofit service provider for people with disabilities, director role for a nonprofit focusing on after-school programming and marketing in membership services for Equinox. While I was doing that, I really fell more and more in love with my teaching. I have been teaching for Equinox for It will be 1 year come December. And I went from teaching a couple of classes a week just as a side hustle to where I am now. And I've really fallen in love with it. I know that, frankly, group fitness was the one way I was able to connect with my workouts. I cannot and will not work out on my own. I just don't have the motivation. I need that community. So, it's been an honor and a privilege to make it my work. It's funny to even say that.
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. I feel like for me, getting into fitness and like for that to become my life and like my niche, and just to be able to go in and inspire people and to truthfully like have fun and enjoy the community of other people on a regular basis and help them to be more fit and confident. I think it's truly an honor to be able to say that's what I do for my profession. So I'm like all here for it. I'm all gung ho for it. And it's really cool that you transition to doing that full time? Because that's a big jump. Like, what was that like for you, switching from like being so business centric to more hands-on fitness? And then with that, how do you feel that your background in business has helped you?
Yeah, that's really, I think you've hit the nail on the head. There's totally a synergy between being business minded and the fitness world. In terms of the transition, it was releasing control and the anxiety of having a salaried job, a lot of job security, vacation days. That does not exist in this world. And oftentimes for fitness instructors who are not teaching a certain amount of classes, you do not get health insurance. I'm very fortunate. The amount of hours that I put in a week provides me with health insurance. It was very important to me to maintain my 401k. So that stayed, that was something I did not negotiate with myself for planning for my future. There are so many qualities that easily have transitioned into fitness: public speaking, presentation, delivery, programming, organization, my communication with students, faculty, collaboration, the importance of taking other people's classes. So that mentorship, right? And learn from one another. And this is just the way of the world, social media management. In my last role as a director of communication, a big part of my job was social media and managing our organization's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, as well as the CEOs. There's so much of that now in the health and wellness world, sometimes to our own detriment.
Yeah, you really have to like be able to take a break from it sometimes.
100%. But it doesn't mean that it is not an important part of what we do. You can't turn around from it. You can't. So being focused on being an instructor has been quote unquote easy for me. Simply because it is the one job where I've been 100% present, and I cannot be bothered by my own fears, doubts, insecurities, because it's bigger than me. It's about everyone else in that room and making sure that they feel stronger, better, in whatever way they define that.
Yeah, totally. And I love the fact that you even mentioned that, because as a fitness instructor, it really, what moves me is the fact that I get to go and inspire people, but it's also moving me, personally, because I am able to inspire other people. It makes me feel good and I'm making them feel good. So it's a shared mutual relationship, and I can totally understand like where you're coming from when it comes to working out with community, not working out on your own. I love working out on my own, but from where you are and knowing yourself, it's great that you can say that like everyone is different. So this person might work out this way, this person might work out that way, but to know like what works for you is one thing that everyone has to do working in fitness, being a part of fitness, working out, what works for you, and working as a community. I can feel the vibe when I'm walking past your classes. I can feel the vibe when I've been in classes, and it just makes you feel whole. It makes you feel like you have a place to belong, and it's really up to that instructor to really set that tone. So for you to go in and push yourself constantly to create that environment so that other people can thrive on it is tremendous for you to do. And a personal benchmark that I even want to get to do is just have that resiliency every time, no matter what's going on, and go in and crush it.
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head once again. You have to set the tone in the room. It is a 45-minute to 55-minute performance. I am literally performing, which is why it's so important that I have time to turn off. That's the biggest thing for me. In order to be on in those moments 3, 4, 5 times a day, I must have my time. I must turn off. And I've really appreciated that in a form of self-care more than anything during this journey.
Yeah. I definitely get that too, because I feel like in today's society, we're overwhelmed. We are constantly hammered with here's this, here's that, here's this, here's that, and you always have to be on. Like, you always have to be giving the best side of yourself. Especially in New York, you know you're in constant competition, and it's finding those moments to say, okay, I'm going to take a step back so that I can continue to give 100% in what I do, and cherishing those moments, planning those moments, putting them into your schedule, and counting that as a part of your regeneration of your day. Exercising is hugely important. Nutrition is hugely important, but so is taking that mental time to get yourself right and be prepared for what's next in your day, so that you can continue to positively impact other people's lives. And I highly recommend anyone that's listening to that to, no matter what you do, take that time to feed back into yourself, whether that's reading a book, whether that is taking the time to meditate or just be at peace. You really got to take care of your own mental health and find your center in order to continue to move throughout your day peacefully and productively.
Oh my gosh, and I'm so glad you said meditation, and I'm so glad you said mental health. I feel like a lot of people, myself included, a year and a half ago, I would have been like, this boy is so woo-woo. This is not my jive. I am not taking time for me. I'm stronger than therapy. I'm stronger than admitting that I have challenges. I'm stronger than reaching out for help when I need it. I don't need any of this. And I cannot close my eyes and sit still. I don't know where I would be without those practices today, period. So thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. I feel there's a lot of times where people feel that they're weak for speaking up or weak for struggling with these things. You're not weak. There's lots of reasons, and we can go into all the different types of, like, the social media that's in your head, being constantly moving around, having packed schedules. It's not like it was in the 1980s, 1990s, early 2000s, where, things have only progressed. They've only gotten faster. They've only gotten, targeting more towards the audience. These corporations are not, they're not playing around. Like, they are doing their research, they're doing their science to target their markets, and that's why you feel like everything is capturing your attention. That can lead to stress and other things. And so it's okay to anyone that is struggling or feel like you're overwhelmed to admit it. I feel like you're stronger to admit it and to acknowledge it and to learn how to deal with it than it is to reject it and to pass it up, because you're only hurting yourself. You're only going to hinder yourself. And if you want to keep moving forward, you got to acknowledge and learn from it. Speaking of that, and speaking of your journey, I know that you have struggled. You've had personal struggles in your past. Can you tell us kind of about that and how it led into fitness for you?
Sure. So I definitely, my earliest recollection of disordered eating behaviors was not really until I graduated from University at Buffalo. So that was undergrad. Of course, there had been diets prior to then. I was president of my sorority. A formal's coming up. I got to put on a bodycon dress. Great. No sugar that day. But it wasn't until, I started my first job and minimal fitness, really, where I started eliminating food groups from my diet. I was getting my master's degree at the time, getting about an hour of exercise a week, anything from cardio, kickboxing to a Zumba class. And I remember not understanding proper nutrition, how to fuel my body pre, post workout. I remember after a workout, a high intensity class, eating egg whites and kale and being like, okay, I'm good till dinner. No. Yeah. And rigidity in this form is very common amongst people with eating disorders. And I remember being specifically very anxious about what my life was going to look like. I was so focused on the fact that I was a business major and I must have a career specifically in business, that I needed to control the things around me in that way as well. So striving for perfection in any way I could manifested itself in controlling what I could. So I do remember, one night it was right before I was moving out of my parents' home in Queens, and I passed out in the hallway.
Wow.
I was so constipated. I was so malnourished from zero fiber, poor nutrition, starting to get into over exercising, really over cardio based exercising, that I simply couldn't hold myself up. And I was obviously suffering. My family saw it, but I know it must have been challenging for them to watch, as my mom suffered from anorexia and bulimia for 10 years, and my father was her main source of support while they were dating. I also come from a family that has a hard time with communication, accepting outside help. It's a thing. Yeah. So being busy, overworked, scheduled, all these things are applauded, commended, and it makes us individually each very committed, dedicated, hardworking people, constantly of service to others. But it's also our downfall. So after that had happened a few years ago, my nutrition got better. I was eating very well. My body was happy. It was strong. My mind, though, was never fully recovered from it. And so about a year ago, I started to relapse. And it was not until the end of last year, right when I started teaching for Equinox, that I sought out help. I think the people closest to me saw it. They saw my weight dropping dramatically. They saw isolation, the rigidity around what I was eating. And, I think I was just tired of not being my best self. Yeah. And not being good to the people in my life because I was not being good to me. And
not to interrupt you, but I feel like that is I feel like that's a common missed thing is everybody, there's so many people, and it's not to criticize, but there's so many people that want to take care of others but don't understand the fact of taking care of yourself first. And if you don't take care of yourself first, then you can't help other people, because what happens when they become dependent on you and you're no longer around because you didn't take care of yourself? Or what happens when you're that person's hope or whatever? And it's not to say that people can't be dependent or things like that, but simply to say that there's a scenario that I always talk about, and it's if a plane is going down.
Oh my God.
The instruction is to put your mask on yourself first so that you can help the next person. Because what happens if you choke and die off of no air while you're putting the mask on someone else, and then they suffocate and if you take care of yourself first, and it's not to say be selfish, but there are periods of time where selfishness is appropriate. There's a time and place for everything. And I know, like for me personally, my place of selfishness is when I go to the gym, when I'm working on that personal part of myself and being able to say, okay, hey, I need to decompress. I need to declutter my mind. I need to rejuvenate. I need to pour back into myself so that I can continue to pour into others. And it's so good to take care of people, but if you don't take care of yourself, it's only going to hurt those that you love and that you take care of, because then they're not going to have you, and they're dealing with their own burdens plus the one of you not being there. So self-care is hugely important, and I wish more people realized how important self-care is, and that just because you want to be strong, or just because you want to be fast, or just because you want to be this image or this person, doesn't mean that you have to suffer through it.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you. I swear though, that every time I boarded a plane until my most recent journey through recovery, I swear I was like, this is the most selfish thing. Why would I put my own I swear to you. And it's a mindset, right? It wasn't if your basic needs are not met, and I'm talking basic food, sleep, shelter, connection with other humans, period. You cannot be of good service to other people. You cannot be present.
Yeah.
Period. And I get emotional thinking about it, because for me, it's not about putting on a sheet mask. It's boring self-care. It's the little things that support me in my day-to-day, so that I can be happier, that I can be fulfilled. It's turning my phone off when I am eating breakfast, when I start my morning. It's about meditating before I get out of bed to teach my first class. It's about making sure that I am just as much of me as I can be before I start my day, is actually where the best, I think, my best moments of self-care happen.
I agree. I think for me, I really find myself, like I said, my self-care is really going to the gym. It's really taking that therapeutic time to feed back into myself. There are other like little things that I do that help me, like organizing my desk in a certain way, and it sounds like very OCD or stuff like that. It's that treat yourself, treat yourself. But it's like, it doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be extravagant. It doesn't have to be bougie. It could just be something so simple as like, you like the bed made up this way, or you like to do this, or you like to take this route to work, even though that's the shorter route to work because it's more scenic. Like it's things that give you peace and things that allow you to express yourself, as well as like the basic needs of, if this is going to help me sleep better, then I'm going to put this music on while I sleep, or it's the simple things like taking care of yourself and knowing that you are human, and it's okay to be human. It's okay to have needs and wants, and to be able to satisfy them in order to be a better person to everyone else. Like if and this is where I feel like it gets shaky into where people are like, oh, I'm going to treat myself every day. I think there's a difference between discipline and self-care. Like self-care is going to help you. I feel like, if you feel that your self-care is something that's being counterproductive to you, I think that's something to take into question and ask yourself, like, is this really helping me? Is this really pushing me in the direction that I truly want to be in, that I feel it's best for me and that others think it's best for me, that I consult with, that I trust, and being able to say yes or no. And it doesn't have to be always that black and white, but in turn, self-care is about taking care of yourself so that you can continue to thrive and help others, I feel like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think you brought up a really good point. There's a very fine line between something that makes you feel good and self-care. So I know that those shoes made you feel good when you bought them, but did you need them? You may have needed them. In that way, it's a form of self-care, because you're taking care of, if you're going to the gym every day, you want to make sure you're properly equipped for what the ground is holding.
What's going to happen in that class, in a minute's class.
But if something feels good, like a relationship, you keep going back into when your intuition, when your higher power, when your God is telling you, this has bad news written all over it.
Yeah.
That is not self-care, honey. That is
definitely
self-destruction.
Not. Or even back to the shoe scenario, like, is this, great. I felt great while I was buying those shoes, but it's a temporary satisfaction that's not going to last. Like, that's something that's going to become a habit, and I don't think if you got the money, go for it. If you're set financially, and that's a part of like maybe spending money that you set aside that you have for self-care, and that's what you decide to spend it on, great. But if that's like dipping into something that's really going to matter, like paying your bills and to make sure that you do have a roof over your head, food on your table, clothes on your back, and that you're equipped for your day, I think that's like we said, it goes back to discipline and being able to say, okay, this feels good versus this is just something that it's a temporary high that I wanted. And all of that, it's important to have wants to needs, like I said before, be able to say, this is contributing to my life. In some way or form, is this contributing to my life and to the lifestyle that I'm choosing to live? And if it is, go for it, you know? I did want to tap back into the past that you struggle with. So you're telling us about how you really went through the struggle, you passed out in the hallway, and you came through that. When was it that you really realized it's okay to reach out for help?
Well, I think it's exactly actually how you danced around saying my struggle. Like I am in recovery from anorexia nervosa. And I think that, and this is not a slight on you. What you're saying is exactly where society needs to, like, we need to get to a place where we're okay talking about mental health issues, because that's in fact what it is. Mm-hmm. You know, there were people who, when I was at my worst, were like, you look so fit, you look so great. There is a really, really big difference mm-hmm. and a real distinction between looking a certain way and having an eating disorder, having disordered eating behaviors. Mm-hmm. It is a mental health disorder. There's that is something that we need to get really comfortable talking about. So for me, it was, the first step was going online, because I'm somebody who is, I like to consider a little bit in the education. So I literally Googled eating disorder help, New York City. And the National Eating Disorders group came up. And there are so many options for people that are free and low cost support. And an EDA is one of them. That's Eating Disorders Anonymous. So I do want to point out that while I am open about my challenges and my recovery, there are some people who decide to remain anonymous, and that's totally cool. The great thing about this source is that you can actually call a helpline, toll-free, confidential, if you or someone you know has some warning signs or symptoms. And there's also so much literature on the website. For me, it was, my dad, I think, said it best. He goes, Amanda, you've always been very self-aware, which is true. Never denying that I had a problem. It was a matter of, I've learned it's a matter of me feeling like a burden to the people in my life, and that I have control of this situation. I can handle it. I can handle it. I can handle it. And it was really what saved me is outreach and the fellowship that comes with having a community of people, and what it's done for my fitness community, how my own students feel comfortable speaking to me about their journeys. And I'm really fortunate that I'm in the environment that I am in as I continue through my own journey.
Yeah, I think reaching out, being strong enough to accept the outreach. You were saying that you felt like a burden to other people, and I think there are plenty of times where people are really strong. They're very strong, and they put themselves last because they are strong. And they feel like the burden to help and the need to help. And I just want to say this to anyone that is listening, is that you're still strong. You're still strong for reaching out. You're still strong for asking for help. You're still strong for accepting help. That is not going to change. But I want to pick your brain and say, think about how much better you could be in helping those people if you were on top of your game. And not just a game that you, and like you, Amanda, I'm very self-aware, and I know that I struggle with things, but it's being able to go beyond yourself and your self-awareness, because there's many times where I'm self-aware that I need to be working on something, but I don't make it a priority because I feel like other people are priorities or other things are priorities. And so then I put, my burden, my things last, and don't let them burden me because they're not burdening someone else. But in return to that, if you're really looking at yourself as being an efficient individual, especially for the people that do live in high performance lives or environments, and especially in New York City, when you're not taking care of yourself or you're not helping yourself, or when we're going back to saying, like we were saying earlier, acknowledging that there is a problem and working to fix it and learn from it, and move past it. If you're not doing that, looking at your efficiency, you're not operating at 100% or even close to it, because there's a giant gap that you're missing and that you could be filling and improving so that you can be an overall more productive person and in helping others. So I think this goes back to the same scenario we were talking about before, is you really do have to take care of yourself. You can't just think you're going to get back to it another day, because you're not, that day may never come, because you're always going to be last. And it's not to say that you have to be completely selfish or to just dead everybody and go and do your own thing. It's creating that balance.
You're listening to The Flex Project with Jordan Tatishi.
Amanda, what would you say is advice for someone taking on and reaching out for help?
Nita's website is super, super helpful, only because they give you ways to directly contact either a helpline, locate a meeting if you're in a city that hosts an EDA meeting, because it is a 12-step approach. And it also provides you with ways to find treatment. It also is really helpful, and I think this is a big thing, if someone you love, if you think someone you love is suffering, there are resources for you too. And you have to recognize the fact that just because somebody looks a certain way does not mean that they, of course, have an eating disorder or, disordered eating behaviors. But it's there's a screening tool on the website, on places and how you can help the people in your life find the proper care.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of different experiences people have, and some things that motivate them. I know for me, like, I struggled with being the chubby kid when I was little. Eventually later on in life, I got into fitness, and I was constantly in this mindset and element of, like, I have to be skinny, I have to look this way, I have to look that way, and that does play into your nutrition, like you were saying too, like you were working out a whole lot. Sharing my personal experience, sharing your experience, I hope that other people can look back and be able to say, like, I know I had like moments where I was like picked on, or I was bullied for this, or I went through this experience that makes me think of nutrition in this light. And I think it's developing a healthy relationship. I know early I was so strict that I don't think it was really good for my own health. I got the results I wanted, but I wasn't happy. And I think that's a big thing. It's like, you're never going to be satisfied with yourself unless you set yourself up for success, and then continue to elevate that success. And for me, I've really learned to accept myself and to continue to work and know that I'm a work in progress. And that just like the Flex Project, my body is a project, my life is a project, and I'm continuously researching, adding content, and letting that revolve and evolve. And I think that's a healthier way to look at a journey that is as big as tackling an eating disorder or tackling something, mental health, or anything that you feel like it's a big thing and you may be overwhelmed, you're afraid to face it. But if you could just have the small courage to just stand up to it, everything after that point, I feel like gets so much better.
I think that's exactly it. You do have to kind of stand up to yourself. And you mentioned something about it being a journey. Somebody like me who is a list person, into my rituals, into making sure that every day I have 3 things that I need to tackle, and I can check it off. That is not this. Every single day, you're getting closer, perhaps, to a place where you are finding yourself at peace, but it is not a one and done. And I think that is definitely a misconception that, there's one, having certain challenges like an eating disorder is a choice, or that, once I hit a certain amount of weight, then I'm cured. No. There are other signs of improvement, of course, but it's a balancing act, and it is in fact a journey.
Yeah. Do you feel that body dysphoria it's a big part of eating disorders, or that they coincide at all?
There are certain things about ourselves that perhaps we would like to change when it comes to our appearance. Mm-hmm. My ears are slightly uneven, and if I was bothered by these imperfections, I wouldn't be able to live day to day. But people with body dysmorphia they see themselves and focus on that flaw for hours each day.
Yeah.
And so, these thoughts, they when they start to interfere with your daily functioning, of course, you may miss social situations, isolate yourself. And these behaviors also are present with somebody who has an eating disorder. So it's quite, there's definitely overlap. Doesn't necessarily mean that if you have an eating disorder, then you have body dysmorphia, but certainly.
Yeah. And that's just really to bring, I think, awareness to mental health disorders. There are a lot of mental health disorders that do overlap in ways. Mm-hmm. And like, I know for me personally, I've struggled with anxiety and depression, and I've learned how to work on it and to deal with it and to really use that self-care to take care of myself and know where I need to be. I feel like a lot of people don't know that about me.
Jordan, you're not alone, right?
Definitely not. As my own personal journey, a lot of people see me as the fun-loving person and the person that picks everyone up and the person that really tries to be there and encourage other people and think through things. But, I have my own struggles as well. I have the things that I overstress about, the things that I worry about, the things that get me down. And I think that's just a part of being human. And I think once I accepted that fact, I began the journey of being able to do better, to help myself get through that. And everyone's journey is different. I know for me, I didn't want to go I didn't want to be on medication. I really wanted to try working out and doing things that were maybe more holistic to benefit and help me. And I feel like I've gotten very far, like very, very far from who I was younger. And that's not to say that's for everyone. And I will never say, if you feel the need to go to a doctor or you feel the need to get help, don't go get help. Like I've been to a counselor before. I've done that, and it did help. I did decide to take the matters and want to see, like, how could I change my lifestyle after going to a counselor. How could I change my lifestyle to benefit the things that I need? And I think that's really when I got into self-care. And we don't really think of it as self-care. We think of, I'm just making this habit change to live a better life. But like, if you have diabetes, taking your medicine or cutting sugar back or adding sugar to your diet, depending, that's a part of self-care. Changing the habits. Go ahead.
No, when you mentioned that a big part of your self-care is getting your time in every day for your workout. I am the same exact way, and it has in fact been therapeutic. It's not about, though, overdoing it, right? It's what are the things that are important to me in terms of my wellness? Is it endurance? Is it strength? Is it recovery? Mm-hmm. Is it community, right? Yeah. So I totally hear you on that, and I think that is a form of therapy, 100%.
Absolutely. And I think I feel like it's definitely one of those ones that it's free. It's something that you can easily access, whether that's going for a power walk, running, or going to the gym, finding buddies to work out, a group fitness class. There's a lot of resources to get exercise and fitness in your life that don't cost or that are not costly. You can really work out anywhere. You can go through social media. You can really access fitness anywhere. And fitness, nutrition, regeneration, wellness, I feel like just focusing on those for a little bit of time can improve. I mean, obviously there's scientific proof that exercise releases different hormones that help with stress relief and happiness. So, why not try it? I feel like, and then, paying attention to what you're eating, processed foods, the chemicals in processed foods do things to your body and does affect the brain. So like being cautious of what you're putting in your body to fuel not just your exercise but your brain function. So taking time from that, sleep. If you're getting enough sleep, are you sleeping properly? What's the quality of your sleep? There's tools to measure that. And even if you don't want to get that sciencey, are you just taking the time out to get enough hours of sleep where you feel properly recovered and refreshed in the morning so that you can have a productive day, so that those things don't bother you as much as they would if you were cranky? I know for me, like I cannot be woken up. Like if you wake me up and I was like sleeping, I am the grumpiest person. And I used to really be a morning person, and then that was a part of my, like I have to wake up on my own. Like I have to like set an alarm or wake up on my own. I don't like to be woken up.
I'm really shocked to hear that, because I feel like I contact you on my schedule, which is a 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. deal. And Honey Badger, you are always there to support me with my questions. So I don't know when you're sleeping, but I applaud you.
Taking on this project, I get a lot more freedom in my schedules to function around other schedules. So just know I'm up sometimes at 4 a.m. working. I'm sleep at 4 a.m. But lately I've been working through the night just because it's quieter, and then I sleep more like in a little bit more in the morning. So my sleep schedule is kind of off while people are at work, and then I'm contacting people outside of their normal schedules. Diving back into this, what steps do you take to contribute to yourself and love yourself on a regular basis?
Depending on the day, if you saw my alarms right now, maybe not you, but some people might be scared. So I start my day anywhere from, it looks like 5:22 a.m. I roll out of bed, turn the lamp on, and I read a meditation. Right now I've been reading Journey to the Heart, which is an excellent book that if you wanted to have your followers purchase it, I would absolutely, I don't get any, I'm not sponsored. I just freaking love this book, and I highly recommend it. I always post it in my Instagram story.
Absolutely. We can drop a link in the description. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Totally support anyone who wants to incorporate guided meditation into their life, because sometimes it's really hard to stay silent with ourselves for a few minutes, especially when we first start out. Mm-hmm. So I meditate. I get out of bed. I have my tea ready to rock. I don't drink coffee until I'm done with my morning. No reason. It's just a part of my routine. So I grab my tea and I'm out the door. When I'm on the train, I am either writing in a note in my phone if I forget my journal, but if my journal is in my backpack, as it should be, I write the 3 things that I want to do that day and something that I'm thankful for that day. This has been a really big part of my recovery process, but also a lot of what I do is very solo. And so to be committed to taking on certain tasks every day, because I do operate as an independent contractor, it gives me focus. It gives me routine. I also there was a time where I was taking a month to thank at least one person a day in my life who served as a mentor, who was good to me in some way and really deserved that form of recognition. Yeah. And that fed me back tenfold to thank them. So I did that every day for about a month. That was fun. I also, as I was saying before, like I make sure that once a day I have 1 hour where I am disconnected, and it's oftentimes when I'm eating breakfast. Mm-hmm. And that means the phone is not near me. That means that Riverdale is on and I am eating oatmeal. I do eat oatmeal every morning. And I'm so happy about it. I have no desire to change this ritual.
I feel you on that. I'm right there with you. I eat oatmeal with a banana and some walnuts and a little bit of honey, and that is like my morning glory.
It's everything, right? And as long as there's a jar of crunchy peanut butter by me, I am set up for success. Yeah, those are my basic day to day. Just making sure that I'm gracious, I meditate, and of course, that I get my 1 hour of me activity in. It's got it. I have to do my thing. And it's oftentimes in another person's group fitness class.
That's good to be able to take a step back and just participate. I think the listeners in this season will hear me say, in order to lead, you have to follow. Being able to support others, and by following, by you going to that other class, it's also supporting you because it's helping you get your hour time in. But it's also supporting another group instructor that may have the same needs as you and need that support. So I think that's very awesome. There is one thing that I wanted to bring up that I know that you do. You focus on gratitude a lot. I believe you put 3 different things that you're thankful for.
Yeah, so people and places, tangible, intangible. In times when I'm feeling especially anxiety-ridden and negative about something, for example, last night, when I was about to go to sleep because I was so excited to teach my double on this Sunday morning, and the rain was in my apartment. We had ourselves a little flood. So what does Amanda have to do? She has to take a deep breath, be thankful that she has a roof over her head, a very nice Upper West Side roof over my head, might I add, and that this is a small problem in the grand scheme of things. So I pulled out my journal and I wrote random things. Like I'm looking down at it now. Finishing a book is on there. Warm cup of lemon ginger tea is on here. Oprah magazine, that's on the list. How did she make it? She always makes it. and then it's some serious things, of course, because when it happened, who was I FaceTiming with? My sister. So I'm grateful for outreach. I'm grateful for community. I think that any time of day is a good time of day to be grateful. And for sometimes it's like when people pray, maybe they're just praying when something quote unquote bad happens. But I think to make something a practice is so important. So for you, if it's your prayer, if it's your faith, do that. If it's being gracious every day and thanking one person a day, start there. And that's the secret sauce, my man. That's the secret sauce.
I think that's powerful, though, because I feel like to be in a state and mindset of gratitude, you look at life differently. There's so many opportunities, especially I can tell anyone that's listening to this right now, if you think you don't have anything to be thankful for, if you're listening to a podcast on some kind of smart device, you have something to be thankful for. Like, compared to other parts of the world, there's a lot of times where we are desensitized to what else is going on around us, and that we aren't in that mindset of gratitude and being thankful for the things that we have, even if it's just small things, just finding something to. And there's a lot of negativity in the world already. Don't contribute to it. If you could be thankful for something, rather than saying something hateful or being negative or upset about something, just find something to be grateful. A lot of times we find ourselves complaining about stuff that other people don't deal with because they don't have the privilege that we have. I think that's a self-check. That's a check for me, being in the mindset of gratitude. And anyone else that's listening, 3 things you can be thankful for today. 3 things in this very moment that you can say, I have so much gratitude for because I could not have these things. I think that's a great practice. That's an awesome practice to have.
Yeah, it's really become less of a chore the more and more I do it. And it's something that now I can't really go without. And so it's very therapeutic to give to others, and it doesn't cost a thing to thank somebody. The first time I was kind of hit in the head with gratitude was when I first volunteered for Habitat for Humanity in Malawi, Africa, which was a choice I made, frankly, because I thought that I Googled again volunteer work in Africa. I had never heard of Malawi. I just broken up with somebody. I just wanted to get away and quote unquote find myself, which is the biggest load of crap I will ever say. And it drives me up the wall. As my grandmother says, where do you need to find yourself? You're right here. You're right here. And it's true. That hit me in the head when I saw people who simply did not have, but had it all. That they were the warmest people, the happiest people, the kindest people, and they had nothing.
Yeah.
But they had everything because they had each other, and their basic needs were met. And I think that that really goes back to self-care. They know self-care.
Yeah.
Because if they do not commit to their basic needs, they cannot serve the people in their lives.
Yeah.
And it's needed.
That's a learning lesson. I mean, even I know, in speaking of that, it's that you can have nothing and have everything. And I don't think I've seen that many times, and I have caught myself saying, oh my gosh, this person could be so much more successful if they just drop this, or like, you know, they have so much potential and it's wasted. And I shot myself in the foot. You know, I feel like I took for granted a lot of things, like early on in life, and I'm still learning. To this day, I am still learning. And this is me admitting my own faults. I really wanted to get out of where I grew up at. I did things, I really worked hard, and it hasn't been like a priority. It was never a priority to get away. It was more like I really wanted to be successful.
What was lacking where you were that you didn't think you could be successful? So
that's the thing. I thought I had to go somewhere big to be successful. I thought I had to, you know, go across overseas and do all these things and to make a lot of money and to, you know, to be this big name person or run things or whatever. And when I was in New York, I came home and I realized what was important to me, and I had passed it up earlier, like in my life and earlier in like my childhood. I didn't, as a family, my family, we didn't always see eye to eye. There was a lot of like clash and things like that. And people always used to say like, it'll change one day and you'll be grateful that it happened and you'll be thankful that it turned around and you had the relationships that you had. And I always just like roll my eyes like, whatever, okay. And like, I wasn't like a bad kid or anything, but still, it's funny because I didn't talk to like my family for a while, and then maybe a few years ago we started talking again, and I was about to take another job. It was going to send me overseas with the military and all of that stuff, and it fell through, and that like crushed me on the brink of getting out and being successful to my terms and what I had worked hard for years. It fell through, and I became so much closer to my family over that year. I was so thankful for it. And then the very next year, this past year, I got the opportunity to, you know, go work for Equinox in New York City, fitness management, and I was there and I was doing it, and it just felt empty because I didn't have what meant the most to me, which was my family. And I didn't realize that I have taken that for granted and did not give gratitude to how important and how for how long I wanted that. It's so funny how like life works. It's like you think you want this, but you get what you really want, and then you get the choice to choose between the two. And I left. I went to New York, and I was there for a few months, and I was just like, I came home one weekend and I was like, this is what's important to me. Like, the money's nice, you know, I'm meeting awesome people and stuff like that, but just because places change doesn't mean the person changes. And so I feel like that goes back to where you're saying, like, people have to find themselves, like, after a breakup. It's not finding yourself, it's just paying attention to yourself and paying attention to the things that you saw all along but you ignored. And I had a moment, I was just like, these people mean more than anything to me. And it's like, I took that for granted. And I had to make it right with myself. And I said, you know what, I'm going to start my own podcast because I want to share my experiences and the experience of people that I've gotten to know so that others can live well, and that I could be around my family and not take that for granted, because life is short and you really have to learn to appreciate those things while you have them.
I think that our stories are so similar in that way. you have to figure out what drives you and what puts you in a place of real, genuine, authentic joy, peace, happiness, where you can love yourself the most. And for me, I was making a lot of money, but I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
It wasn't filling me. And so I think that's a huge thing. Like, you and I are clearly, we're not doing this because it's paying for the Rolls Royce outside.
Yeah, I don't have that key.
And frankly, I wouldn't want it. I hate driving. I really do.
No, I love it.
It's a control issue, of course, because I can't control you on the road.
Yeah. But I feel like our stories do align, and I think if there's anything that I want people to realize is that there's so many people that want to help people, but we get sidetracked by things. So just give people time. I think that's another thing, is sometimes it takes time for people to learn their lessons, and I'm one of them. Like, I have my faults, and I have my fears, and I have the things that I think are going to work out, and they don't. But if there's anything that hasn't changed, is that I want to be in the career of helping other people grow. And a part of that is taking care of myself and having to realize my faults and acknowledge them and learn from them. Just like I told everyone else today on this podcast, is that everybody has their faults, everybody has their downfalls, but it's time, and it's a journey, and it's a project to work on. And I hope that the Flex Project can continue to motivate others and inspire others to work on their project. So with that, Amanda, so our last part of our podcast is the rapid fire questions. So it's 10 questions.
Oh, God.
You have to answer as fast as you can.
Oh, God, another thing I can't control.
Yep, you can't control it. The only thing you can control is just going with the flow. So first off, question 1. You ready?
It sounds tragic. Yes, go.
Where can our listeners find you, reach you? Instagram, Twitter, website, what is it?
Boom. It is Amanda_Katz with 2 Z's, and that is on Instagram. I use my Twitter more so to follow intellects like Chrissy Teigen. And I mean that sincerely.
Great. And don't you have a website, though? You have a website with your schedule up?
Yes, I have my schedule, and it is in the bio of my Instagram. So Amanda_Katz with 2 Z's, because somebody stole 1 Z.
Now you guys know where to find her. All right, question number 2. If you had to pick one veggie to eat for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Cauliflower.
Interesting. 3, what is one piece of advice you would give yourself a year ago?
Relax. Take it easy. You don't need to struggle.
That's good. That's good. 4, what is a self-care ritual you cannot live without?
Going to the gym once a day for me. Being active once a day.
Good. I like it. I agree. 5, what is the last song you listened to?
Hold up, Beyonce. The album is Lemonade.
Of course it is. Her Lemonade album's not on Spotify, so I won't be able to add that to your guest DJ playlist, but we'll find some other Beyonce to put on there.
I got you.
Number 6, what does success mean to you?
It's a long, long ride, but there's amazing scenery.
That's good. Take that in, you guys. Number 7, pen, pencil, or paper? Pen, pencil, or keyboard?
Pen, and specifically it has to be colored ballpoint pens.
You guys, you know what to get her for Christmas. Number 8, sunset or sunrise?
Sunrise.
Number 9, what makes you smile?
Finishing a book. I'm a library book hoarder, by the way.
You did put in the bio you sent me that you enjoy going to the library, and I was like, that is the most booky thing to say.
I am an 74-year-old woman trapped in a 28-year-old's body. There is no doubt in my mind. And if I'm going to get arrested for anything in my life, it will be how librarians are constantly renewing books for me. and they are definitely tricking the system in order to do so.
Well, nobody
Do not mention New York Public Library up in this. Do not mention them.
And number 10, what is your favorite TV series of all times?
Oh my God.
I know that's hard.
You know how stressful that is.
Yeah, you can do it.
Boardwalk Empire.
I need to look that up.
What?
I haven't heard of it. I know. I'm sad, right?
God. And and I would say it's pretty much a tie is Dexter, but you need Steve Buscemi in your life.
Okay, so
Boardwalk Empire.
You got to send me the link and I'll check it out for you. Amanda, thank you so much for being on today's show. We got to bring awareness to so many great things for the audience to hear: eating disorders, self-awareness, gratitude, taking that leap to get help. It's been an awesome show. I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much.
I could not have done it without you, and I am so freaking proud of you, my friend. And I love podcasts, so I needed this in my life.
Well, I am so thankful that you're going to be episode number 1 because I feel like this is really setting the tone for the rest of the season. We have so much great stuff coming up. We have a podcast on meditation. We have podcasts with powerlifters going to Arnold's. We have podcasts with nutritionists and more group instructors, big names coming up. So I can't wait for everyone to listen and to just be inspired. I think that's the most important thing, is being inspired. Yes, working out is great, and this is a fitness geared podcast, but I want you to be inspired to live your best life. Living my best life.
Okay.
I won't go to the next line, but
can you add yourself onto my Spotify playlist? Thank you.
Oh, I will do that. I will do that. All right, you guys. Amanda, thank you so much for being on the Flex Project today. You guys, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. My Instagram handle is Jordan, JORDON .Tatishi, TATISHI on Instagram. Also on Twitter, same handle. Or you guys can go to www.theflexproject.com and click on Contact Us and shoot us your questions if you have anything. Don't forget to subscribe for updates. If you guys love this podcast, go give it a share. Show us some love on Instagram. Show Amanda some love. Amanda_Katz with 2 Z's, not 1, not 3, but 2. You guys, thanks for listening to Flex Project. Peace out.